A hotel in Somalia's capital city is rocked by a bomb blast. How aid groups are helping Nigerian children and widows recover from the damage caused by Boko Haram. And Kenyans triumph in the 2015 New York City Marathon. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now, the United Nations Security Council is condemning an attack Sunday on a hotel in Somalia that killed at least 12 people, including the owner of the hotel, a military commander, and 2 lawmakers. Authorities say the militants triggered a car bomb at the entrance of the Sahafi Hotel in Mogadishu just before gunmen stormed the site. The hotel is popular with government officials and business executives. Among those killed was General Abdi Karim Yusuf Dagabadan, a former army commander who led the offensive that forced al-Shabaab to retreat from Mogadishu in August 2011. Somali Security Minister Abdulrazak Omar Mohammed told VOA the attackers were wearing Burundian military uniforms, which he says they may have obtained during al-Shabaab's deadly attack on a Burundian military base in June. Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the attack in a statement Sunday. Now, the group controlled most of southern Somalia as recently as 2010, but was forced into the countryside by the African Union and Somali government forces. The militants carry out frequent attacks, often targeting government officials and African Union troops. Now, the first bodies of victims of the Russian airplane crash in Egypt arrived in St. Petersburg Monday morning aboard a Russian government plane. St. Petersburg authorities have decided mourning activities for those killed in the crash will last until Tuesday in Russia's second city. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared Sunday a national day of mourning. The Metrojet flight disappeared Saturday from radar over the Sinai Peninsula with 224 people aboard. Nearly all of the passengers aboard the Metrojet charter flight were Russian tourists returning to St. Petersburg from the Egyptian resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh. 3 Ukrainians were also among the dead. Now, Russian aviation officials say the doomed flight likely disintegrated in the air. Emergency crews have recovered both of the plane's black boxes, which record flight data and pilot communications. Militants claiming affiliation to the Islamic State say they shot down the jet. But aviation and military experts believe the group does not have missiles that could have reached the plane's altitude of 9,100 meters. Well, as the Saudi Arabia-led coalition continues airstrikes against Houthi militants in Yemen, locals say many of the victims are often regular people with no stake in the war. Heather Maddock has more from Cairo.
Residents of Hadran examine a bomb site, a pile of rubble that only 2 days before was their village mosque.
They have destroyed everything. They demolished the house on top of the heads of its residents. The home was here and the whole family was inside. Some escaped, others did not. Everything is destroyed.
About 40 people were left homeless here from a bombing, and many other houses were damaged. At least 3 children in this village have been killed in airstrikes. Ruined cars and holy books are left charred and scattered among the debris. Villagers say the airstrikes did not land anywhere near a military site.
There is no military camp, there is no commanders, no Houthis, no political party members, no army and no military base in the area. The people are only poor farmers.
Since this video was shot, most of the villagers have fled, leaving their farms behind. Locals say after 7 months of near-daily bombings, they are angry.
We are all saying they will never humiliate us. They will never make us fall to our knees from these crimes. We will never surrender to their demands.
But this anger is not just directed towards Saudi Arabia, which leads the coalition conducting the airstrikes. He also blames the United States and Israel, which Yemenis often blame for the destruction of their country, sometimes almost by rote. Heather Murdoch, VOA News, Cairo.
Well, Nigerians suffering from 6 years of conflict between Boko Haram Islamist militants and Nigerian troops are getting some relief from international aid groups. 2 aid projects underway in northern Nigeria are benefiting children displaced from their schools and women who have been widowed by the fighting. VOA's Michael Lippin has the story.
It may look like a formal classroom, but it's not. It's one of about 300 informal learning centers in northern Nigeria where students driven from their schools by Boko Haram militants can still get an education. Washington-based NGO Creative Associates International runs the learning centers with funding from the U.S. government's Agency for International Development, or USAID. The program relies on support from Nigerian community leaders who provide safe spaces for the traumatized children, says the group's Director of Education in Conflict Zones, Eileen St. George.
We can come in with great ideas and help mobilize the community to realize their own need and how it needs to be responded to, and provide them some of the technical capacity to build the knowledge and the skill sets to implement the program. And so we say support because we are there, but working side by side with the communities, with the local governments, with the state to make this happen. And they're bringing in these kids.
The U.S. NGO says more than 1 million Nigerian children have been displaced by Boko Haram's 6-year insurgency. The group's year-old education program is designed to provide those children not just with learning opportunities, but also psychosocial support and in-class meals. St. George told #VOA that her group has so far enrolled 20,000 displaced children.
I would say we're touching just a drop in the bucket. And there's so many more children and youth out there. And when you help stabilize the children and the youth, you're stabilizing an entire family and the community around them.
In another program, thousands of widows who have lost husbands in the insurgency have registered with the International Committee of the Red Cross. The Red Cross is working with the Widows Association of Northeastern Nigeria's Borno state to help the bereaved women to start small businesses with $200 grants. Amina Lawan used the money to buy 3 sewing machines and open her own tailoring shop. Her husband was killed 3 years ago.
When I become a widow, sometimes to eat 3 times is difficult for me. We eat sometimes, we hardly eat 2 times a day because no money. Before you do this to children, you do to yourself, their school fees, everything is so hard.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, who took office in May, has ordered his military chiefs to quash the Boko Haram uprising by the end of this year. Human rights organizations often have accused the Nigerian army of violating human rights in the fight against Boko Haram. The army denies that accusation. Michael Lippin, VOA News, Washington.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with Kazakhstan President Nursultan Nazarbayev on the 3rd day of his 4-day tour of Central Asia. President Nazarbayev says he is grateful for the permanent support of the United States for Kazakhstan's sovereignty and economic development. Kerry was hoping to strengthen economic and security ties in the region. Also met Monday with Kazakhstan's foreign minister. In Uzbekistan Sunday, Kerry met the leaders of 5 former Soviet republics: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. All are concerned about the resurgence of the Taliban in Afghanistan and the recruitment of their people into terrorist organizations. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Now, coming up, U.S. presidential contenders react to the conflict in Syria. Stay with us.
I'm Milar Sega. I'm the host of VOA's The Correspondents, a roundup of the world's top stories with analysis from our dedicated reporters. It's really a conversation the same way that you would bring a friend to your home and ask them what's going on. And our correspondents will do that and answer those questions through their own eyes.
That appears a false choice in more ways than one.
We can't actually put you there, but we can come pretty close. In 30 minutes, we'll show you the world.
Wherever you are, Voice of America is on air, reaching more than 130 million weekly, worldwide, in more than 40 languages. Online, social media, and breaking news from around the world. On the go, dozens of new features on popular platforms with new apps and trending topics. Voice of America. On air, online, on the go.
Welcome to Beyond Category. I'm Eric Felton. As the great Duke Ellington once said, some artists are beyond category. Join me each week as we take you inside the world of jazz and meet the musicians who make it come alive. I might even join in from time to time. It's jazz and blues and swing, music that's beyond category.
Welcome back. News that the United States will for the first time deploy special forces in Syria to support local fighters battling Islamic State militants has elicited mixed reactions in Washington from both Democratic and Republican presidential candidates vying to succeed President Barack Obama. VOA's Michael Bowman has more.
While battles rage in Syria, America's approach to the conflict is debated on the presidential campaign trail. Republican Senator Marco Rubio says Islamic State extremists must be confronted.
At the end of the day, either they win or we do. They're not going to stop in Syria. They're not going to stop in Iraq. These people have to be defeated. And you have to defeat them by denying them operating territory.
Rubio accuses President Obama of squandering America's costly, hard-won gains in the Muslim world.
This president ran on the promise of, we're getting out of the way. We're not doing it. We're in retreat. He ran and he promised. Look, think about this. He got elected by arguing, we're out of Iraq. We're soon going to be out of Afghanistan. Vote for me.
But Rubio says he does not favor a massive U.S. military deployment to fight the Islamic State directly. Rather, he says, America must do more to rally the broader Middle East to battle Sunni radicals. His recommendation sounds similar to that of Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, who fears a deployment of up to 50 troops in Syria could be just the beginning.
50 troops is 50 troops. But here is my nightmare. My nightmare is that the United States once again gets caught up in a quagmire which never ends and which leads to perpetual warfare. The world has got to come together.
Fellow Democrat Hillary Clinton's campaign issued a statement saying Clinton sees merit in a limited deployment to Syria, but opposes a larger ground war in the Middle East.
These forces do not have a combat mission.
The White House stresses a train and assist role for special forces sent to Syria.
The president does expect that they can have an impact in intensifying our strategy for building the capacity of local forces inside of Syria to taking the fight on the ground to ISIL in their own country.
Defense officials say U.S. troops will enter Syria in coming weeks. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
Well, our next story is about a very young entrepreneur from Rwanda. In fact, he's almost too young for the Washington Mandela Fellowship. But because of his achievement in biogas development in his home country, Jean-Bosco Nzeyimana, at the age of 21, becomes one of the youngest Yali fellows. He later interned at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, where VOA's Rebecca Ward caught up with him.
To be a Yali fellow, it's a very, very nice experience. So it's so nice to be here at the University of Wisconsin, Madison. My name is Bosco. I'm from Rwanda, in the country of 1,000 hills. Being a Yali fellow exposes one to different opportunities. Like meeting with young people who are in the same field.
So we can put 57 samples in this tray, and right now it's running aluminum.
Working with successful American business people.
So only 10% is, that's really good.
And as well as getting a glimpse of this huge technology in America so that you can get an experience or an idea of what we can do when we are back home. I'm 21 now. It was a challenge for me to be selected for the Yali program because, you know, the program takes people who are between 25 until 35. So it was a challenge for me because I was underage. But they say we're going to give special considerations to the people who are below 25, but they have to demonstrate that they have done something. In fact, that time I was the top young entrepreneur of Rwanda. So everyone was eager to know how were you selected to be the top young entrepreneur of Rwanda. So I'm employing 30 people, and I also give temporary jobs to more than 50 people every month. Yeah, when I came up with the idea of producing biogas, biomass briquettes, I was motivated primarily by the fact that many people, including myself and my family, were suffering from lack of clean fuels, and we were cutting down trees, and I'm really passionate about the environment. So I said, I can do something to solve this problem. And that's why I came up with the idea of taking the waste, which were actually causing a problem, and then putting or adding value to those wastes. And that value is the ability to replace the trees which are cut to make fuels, but rather using those wastes to make fuels.
Since I worked on biogas and Bosco works in a similar area, they approached me about having him here, and knowing that Rwanda is so close to Uganda where we've been working, looking through all his application things, it seemed very exciting to have somebody from Rwanda to start to collaborate with. And once he got here, we were so pleasantly surprised at how great Sonny is. The competition we know for those positions is very high, and he has been very interested in learning, and he has wonderful ideas. He's a very dedicated young man, and seems like we really have hit it off in a great partnership, and we hope to try to use our collaboration to expand his business and increase renewable energy in Rwanda as well.
And like the engines have a water jacket.
Meeting with people, talking about businesses, exchanging ideas, so it's so good.
Interesting. Well, it's now time now for a short break still to come on Africa 54. Kenyan runners dominate at the New York City Marathon. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Egypt, Russian airline says external influence caused the crash that killed 224 people, and Islamic State militants claim they downed the plane. In Somalia, Al-Shabaab militants attack a Mogadishu hotel, killing at least 12 before security forces killed all the militants. In Guinea, the Constitutional Court officially confirms President Alpha Conde's re-election victory after weeks of complaints from the opposition. Finally, in Libya, Saadi Gaddafi, the son of Muammar Gaddafi, appears in court where he faces charges of murder and other crimes before the 2011 revolution. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
How do you see the world?
I see countries in turmoil.
I see our planet changing.
I see people at peace.
No matter how you see the world, you'll get an unbiased and uncensored view of it on Voice of America. On television, radio, online, and mobile. In more than 40 languages all day, every day. Millions of people tune us in.
How do I see the world? On Voice of America.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Now, footage of an apparition of a cityscape high in the sky above the city of Foshan in China's Guangdong province has gone viral online, leaving residents bewildered. Experts remarked that the phenomenon is a really complex form of mirage, also known as Fata Morgana. Fata Morgana can be composed of several images, and the actual object can become distorted significantly. What next up? James Bond is back, and companies such as Belvedere Vodka, Gillette Shavers and Heineken have paid undisclosed sums of product tie-ins with Spectre in sponsorships that one marketing specialist says are cinema's version of the Olympics. One day after the world premiere of Bond's 24th outing on the silver screen, brands and business associated with 007's adventures already celebrated their tie-ins. In London, Belvedere and Aston Martin hosted a launch party, complete with Bond's girls as well as his car and his liquor. Spectre is to be released in the U.S. on November the 6th. Well, and finally, Khloe Kardashian and Lamar Odom filed a court petition dismissing a divorce filing. But the reality TV star says that doesn't mean they are reconciling. The former NBA star was recently found unconscious in a Nevada brothel. Kardashian says in an interview with People magazine that she halted the divorce to make medical decisions on Odom's behalf. Odom is believed to have overdosed on cocaine and other drugs. He was hospitalized in Las Vegas and transferred to Los Angeles. Clark granted a request to dismiss their divorce filing from December 2013 in such a way that the divorce papers can be refiled at a later date. And that is what is trending today. Now, today, we're bringing you part 3 of the exhibit of African artists on display at the Washington Smithsonian Museum of African Art, featuring Hell. VOA's Caroline Turner has more.
The exhibit portrays hell as defined in Dante's Divine Comedy. It was guest curated by Simone Najami, who sought out 40 talented African artists.
That lichen, it's a piece, it's a bronze piece. People think it's plastic, etc. It's bronze, pure bronze, carved by a young, well, not so young anymore, South African artist, Wim Botha. And it's a figure of the Greek mythology. That is one of the demons of hell. So it's an interpretation, of course, of that lichen that I think was a kind of a nice introduction to hell. Oh, this is a painting from Ethiopian-born Julie Miretu. She's American, living in New York, and I thought that this painting was, again, as all the pieces in this hell, was very representative of hell. And if you come closer, you will see the sketches of a city, and you wonder if it's a city under construction or is it a city that is destroyed. Now, this piece by Yinka Shonibare, Nigerian-born, lives in London, England, is called How to Blow Up Two Heads with One Shot. And Yinka have always been working, and I think it deals with my Divine Comedy as well. I've always been working with Victorian figures and Victorian archetypes. But then what he did is that he changed the Victorian things into African cloth. This is called, ironically, the Royal Convoy. It's a piece by the Ivorian James Kokobi, and it tells the story of the Atlantic trade. These people were taken from Africa as objects and brought to this land. This is the boat that crosses the river Styx, and that takes people, the dead people, into hell. This piece that was made by Joël Andriano Mérissou, and the length of the name tells you he's coming from Madagascar, is dealing with vanity. And vanity is one of the sins that could bring us to hell. But here, he's playing with the mirror, the image, and vanity is about self-reflection. It's about being narcissistic.
Overall, the exhibition provides a probing examination of life, death, and the continued power of art to express the unspoken and intangible. The exhibit continues at the Museum of African Art through November 1st. Carolyn Turner, VOA News.
Well, it's time now for Monday Sports Report, and Sonny Young is here to tell us about the winners of the New York City Marathon. Hello, Sonny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. The Kenyan flag was waving at the 45th annual New York City Marathon. Kenyan athletes Stanley Biwott and Mary Kaitani won the men's and women's titles at the big race in New York. Ladies first, the 33-year-old Kaitani successfully defended her title, winning in 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 25 seconds. And the 29-year-old Biwott clocked 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 34 seconds to win the overall crown. About 50,000 runners from 130 countries tested their endurance in New York, one of the largest races in the world. Well, here's a Sonny Side of Sports salute to the Kansas City Royals, who won their first World Series baseball title in 30 years. The Royals put on protective eye goggles and then sprayed celebratory champagne in their clubhouse after beating the New York Mets 7-2 in 12 innings to win the World Series 4-1. And let's toast Venezuelan catcher Salvador Perez of Kansas City, who was named the most valuable player in the 111th edition of Major League Baseball's Championship Series. Kansas City is the first team since the Oakland Athletics in 1989 to win the World Series after losing in the previous year. I'm VOA Sonny Young, and that's the Sonny Side of Sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sonny, and be sure to watch the Sonny Side of Sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us here in Washington. Have a good night.